Hey everybody,
What's up?
Matt and Mike for the IronTrap podcast. We're shooting the breeze,
Yes.
and this podcast is a reflection,
Yes.
reflecting on the past year and just talking about some of the stuff that happened. And we're also going to just talk about the upcoming 2025, some of the goals and stuff we have going that we're excited about. So, again, I feel like we have to go over this for a while every time. So we're doing podcasts every Sunday.
Every
still.
Sunday, yes.
It's a little confusing if you just noticed on YouTube. We found out that YouTube is hosting podcasts as well. So they do it kind of in an odd, little confusing for our viewers. But
Yeah.
Mike's been posting some on
Mondays, yep.
He's catching up on some of the other podcasts, so he's been uploading them on Mondays. So if you get a weird notification that we have a video, they also put it up as a video, so you get a notification. And we've had some people comment that they don't like that it's just the blank screen. That's just, unfortunately, with YouTube, they put everything up as a video.
So I was actually doing some research. There used to be a Google Podcasts, but since Google and YouTube are all one, they did away with just a Google Podcast, and it's now just under YouTube. So it's super weird and clunky, but if you have the YouTube Music app, you can pull up our podcast like you would a normal one, watch the video ones through the YouTube Music app, or just listen to the audio version.
So for now, we're just going to continue doing the audio one, every other one. We may eventually start doing all video ones to make it a little less clunky, but we haven't figured all that out yet. So
yeah, we're still trying to decide how we can make all that work without just making, so it'd be like a podcast video every week, and some people may not like that, so we're toying with the idea.
Or do we change the day that we put the podcast out, and we just put an additional piece of content? We don't know yet, so
that's one of our goals for 2025.
Bear with us.
Yeah, figure out what the hell we're doing.
We kind of suck at this, and everything's by the seat of our pants.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so doing the podcast, everything's been pretty good. We're surprised that it's been ranking kind of high in automotive.
Yeah, that was actually one of our. I sat down and wrote down some things, and one of the things I wrote down for our milestones for this year is we were semi-consistent with the podcast. Kind of. We didn't do any at the start of the year. There was a couple weeks in January that we missed, but we were very consistent for the every other video until like Hershey, where we just didn't have time because we were away. And then right around Hershey, we started doing audio only ones. So we did pretty good.
Yeah. So in this podcast, we're going to be talking about some stuff that kind of going over everything that happened this year, and also maybe talk about some stuff again, like we did with some of the reflection on some of the rescue videos. We're going to talk about maybe some behind the scenes stuff or stuff people may not realize, and on and on and on. And we'll keep talking, and then at the end, I think we're going to do a little bit of like some of our rough goals for 2025. So Mike did all the preparation. I did absolutely nothing. I was just welding, and I came up here, and here we are.
We'll start with the fun stuff. Cars that we bought.
Okay.
So this year was actually, last year was like the biggest year ever for cars that we bought and sold. Not last year, sorry. 2013 was like we
2023?
2023, yes.
2013, it was a little while.
Yeah. 2023, we bought and sold like a crazy amount of vehicles.
Yeah, a lot more than we previously have.
So this year was a little bit more reserved on all fronts because of the building. We didn't have as much time to buy stuff.
Yeah, and I was going through even looking at for YouTube analytics for the year, and I noticed putting last year to this year, it's like, well, wow, we had a lot less adventure videos and rescue video. It's like, well, I actively was trying to hold back on buying.
He was behaving himself for once.
For once. If you call last year behaving, that's as behaved as I get. So we definitely bought less cars. I said no a lot more.
Yes.
And it was literally just because, stretched thin with money in the other building. We had a lot of money going out in all directions. And it was like I couldn't be, even though I did somehow squeeze,
a few things
in, and shake the money tree a couple of times that I didn't want to. We made it happen. So what all did we? I don't even.
So there were some parts cars in here that we cut up, but we bought that 38 four-door sedan in New York, that parts car. that you bought specifically for the dash trim for the convertible.
Oh yeah, and then ended up not having all the stuff.
Yeah,
Like
no.
it only had one of them or something.
Didn't have the ashtray. It had the trim you needed, but it didn't have the ashtray that we
Okay.
needed.
Yeah, and we parted that out, and it ended up being that the engine. I think that car probably ran when it was
Yeah.
parked there, and the engine seemed pretty darn good. It
I
had
think it's a
green.
part in the new building.
Yes, it has green coolant. It had green coolant in it, just like a lot of the other stuff. But we weren't able to, as easily as I would like, break it free, and we knew that there was some rust around the ring. So I think I just broke it apart completely. Might have been
it's a-
standard bore or
Yeah.
something. So I have it set aside for a good block. In theory, because it was holding coolant all that time, it probably is not cracked. So we have that set aside for a potential, we'd have to get a pressure checked and Magnaflux and all that stuff. So that was,
That was like we did a trip up there like January
oh yeah.
with your dad.
That's right. Yeah, my dad came with it. We got the Caddy engine.
No, that was that was in the
That was the time
fall.
before.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we
okay.
got the two
Oh, we got those two
Flatheads,
Yeah,
yeah.
we got the two flatheads. That's right. Every time we go there, we seem to buy multiple engines.
two
So
to three engines.
there was two engines sitting on the shelf behind the 36 there, and I thought they looked pretty good when we were there one of the other times in the flashlight wiping them off, and I was like, oh, these look interesting. I saw there was like stencils on them, but I didn't really know why or what. So we got them out and got them home, and here they were. They
Job
were
lot.
yeah, they were. Yeah, I guess that was what it was called, Job Lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Job Lot was a place in New York. I think they were in Long Island that had a huge.
I think they had places all over the country. I'm pretty sure.
The one I was reading about and knew about was specifically in Long Island.
Oh, okay.
And it was they were doing what we're doing kind of on a much bigger scale. So they were buying out dealerships and all kinds of stuff, and I don't know if they bought all the leftover military surplus flatheads, and they were selling all of them, and this gentleman obviously bought two of them. So we got those two engines, which worked out fantastic because the engine in the DeLorean Roadster halfway through the summer was burning oil like really, really, really badly
Not
and
as
getting
fast as you put it in.
yeah, and it was getting pretty noisy. So we opted in like a week to swap the engine. We had this good, stock engine, and we just swapped it in just so I could keep driving the car. It's not as fast as it used to be, but that whole trip was pretty
Yeah.
fruitful. The parts car didn't really get me anything I needed, but I think it had a trans on it, which I'm sure
Yeah, we
was-
sold a bunch of stuff from there. Doors, hood, some
Yeah.
sheet metal for the front. So it's living on in many different
Yeah.
pieces.
But that car was bad.
It was rough.
Very, very bad. My father's like, "What do you do?" Like, he's been with on a number of these ones. I don't know why. My dad seems to come with on like the worst one. So he came with a 32 panel that we pulled out that we had to put
yeah.
wood in. Way back when he came back, when I got the Sweetheart Roadster, he came with when I got the Model A coupe body that was like broken in half, and the same thing. We had to drill wood screws through the sheet metal to hold the body together.
We got to take him on a fun one.
Yeah,
That was like Jason Lacombe. He only went on like not fun picking adventures.
Yeah.
And then we finally took him on like a proper road trip where we didn't do any like crazy digging.
yeah. That's funny. So that one we parted out. Yep.
Yep. The next one, I did these in chronological order through the videos. 32 5 window, which is in the other building, waiting its
Oh.
turn.
Yeah, the 32.5 window, and that's one I don't know if I fully talked about the whole backstory on that one. So that one is kind of interesting, actually. So a year before that, we had a viewer contact us asking us if we or someone we knew could do an appraisal on a 32 Roadster and a 32.5 window and a bunch of parts, and it was in Buffalo, New York, and I said that the guy told me all about it, sent me some photos. I'm like, wow, it's really cool. There's finished 32 Roadster, semi-traditional, pretty traditional, definitely nostalgic was probably a better word. And then there was this 32.5 window like project car that was mostly original and a bunch of parts in a shed. And I said, well, I'll do. I guess he was in Texas.
No, he was in Las Vegas. He was
Las
in Nevada.
Vegas, and he somehow through I don't remember the lineage, but
I think he knew the guy. I think
Yeah.
he was from Buffalo originally.
no, I think he knew the gentleman. I don't know. But anyways, it's somehow through a couple steps he found out about it and he knew about it and he was trying from long distance to get an appraisal because the family was trying to sell the stuff. And I offered, I said I'll offer my services, but you have to pay me for a day's like wages.
It's like a 4.5 hour drive.
Yeah, so I said you can either pay for my flight, and I'll take a quick flight up there, which would probably was like $100 round trip flight, or you could pay me for my time, for my drive time or fuel and whatever, and then like a day's wages. Unfortunately I'm not a charity here, so I'd have to charge something. So we went back and forth a bunch of times, and then he ended up not.
It was also he like contacted you in the winter time, right? To try and go to Buffalo.
I can't remember, but it didn't work out. I kind of didn't hear from him. And then I kind of followed up partway through the year, and he said, I'm still trying to deal with it or whatever. And then it just totally went silent for like another 6 or 8 months. So a lot of times, I didn't do it yet this year, but a lot of times what I do at the end of each year, I go through all our emails and leads, and there's a lot of stuff that falls off. Sometimes it's my fault. A lot of times it's my fault that just got busy and forgot about it or whatever, or maybe something happened and we stopped, communication stopped. So I sent an email to the guy and he said, actually, I made an offer on the stuff, but I don't know what happened or whatever. And then he got back to me and said that they didn't take his offer or something happened and the Roadster got moved to a museum or something. And then I basically said, well, if you don't mind me asking or mind me taking a shot, like if you're passing, and then he said, I'm so far away, he kind of passed on it. I said, well, if you don't mind, can I, maybe contact whoever's involved and see if maybe I could take a shot, not knowing anything about what he offered or any of that.
Yeah.
So, long story short, somehow, I don't even understand how it all happened, but a museum got involved in Buffalo, and they do an auction occasionally, and they pulled the Roadster, the 5-window, and all the parts and stuff had been moved to this museum, and they were going to at some point have an auction. So I got in contact with the family member, the son or daughter, I can't remember.
I think it was the daughter
that was running, handling the estate, and speaking with that person, and they were telling me kind of, that they were looking for a little more money than what he offered, and blah, blah, blah. So they sent me like a ton of photos of all the parts laid out on pallets in the museum, like warehouse space. And I was like, oh, wow. I started zooming, like we always do. You zoom in on the photos, and you're like, oh, man, there's some good old hot rod stuff in here, good original parts, blah, 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 blah. So then the museum guy contacted me, and basically we talked. And it was literally like about this time. It was like the end of it. It was like the first couple days of the year or last couple days of the year. And he basically told me he was helping them out because I think he kind of knew the guy. And it was more of a favor. And he was like, it kind of turned into more parts and stuff than he expected. And it was taking up a whole area and blah, blah, blah. And I think what happened is I think they wanted to auction off the cars, make it simple, and then there ended up being like 20 pallets of stuff, and it was kind of in his way. So he pretty much in so many words said it's turning into more of a hassle than we want to deal with right now. We don't even know when we're going to have the auction, so it might sit here. I'd like somebody like you get involved because I explained what we do, and buy everything or buy the 5-window and all the parts. Okay, so we started negotiating, and then a deal happened, and that was right about the same time as we found out that the warehouse was getting sold.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, crap, I got to really contact the pole barn company. But I already kind of committed to this car. So we then went and spent a bunch of money on the 5-window and all the stuff. We got lucky that it was a warm...
Yeah, same with the Michigan stuff. It happened to be a...
Minnesota, yeah.
Minnesota, yeah. A break in the weather, and you and I made a bomb run up there and picked it up and brought it back. And
one day, real long day, we did it.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad because that stuff loading was soup. The car rolled easy, rolled
true.
right in. The parts weren't too bad.
So I kind of bought that car just because it actually wasn't that great of a deal.
No, if trying to just sell the parts.
But I think once the parts are sold, the car will be affordable.
Very affordable.
But a lot of people think that we get these crazy deals sometimes, and like that one, I think I'll get the car will be cheap once we sell all the parts or affordable. But I kind of do it because that's a great car for us to build, content for the channel. It'll be a neat car to put together. Kind of, and my idea is kind of like the DeLorean car, where it's like old black paint, dust in some lacquer, put a little flathead in it, and make it just a nice mild hot rod run around type.
And we got some photos, which I don't think we've ever shown before, of the car when it was parked.
Oh yeah, we dropped those in. I don't know if we showed it in the original video or not.
We got them after, because remember, she put it on the Ford barn. You didn't find it till afterwards.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, what it looked like before it got put away in like a tarp shed or whatever.
Yeah, beautiful black paint.
I don't know if it was beautiful, but it was in a lot better condition.
A little shinier.
Yeah. So
it was a complete car, I believe, that he just took apart to hot rod.
And we've sold a lot of stuff that we got from that estate, but we still have a bunch to sell. The really cool thing about that estate that we didn't realize is the Roadster must have been a old channeled kind of East Coast hot rod, and when he redid it, he took a lot of that stuff off. So we found like these like candy cane striped one seat. Remember, it was red and white seat.
Yep.
We found a chopped up firewall that was from like a channeled car.
They took like 7.5 inches out of it. It was like this big.
It was channeled hard, and a bunch of parts. And I ended up getting the coolest thing. Some of the coolest surprises were we found a bunch of original 32 Roadster parts that he must have just put Brookville on. So like the panel above and below the deck lid. I think we got a deck lid. And there was a bunch of other like neat 32 Roadster stuff that was kind of mixed in. That like I guess at the time when he was redoing, he was like, this is too rough, and I'm like, ooh, that's pretty good. So I've been slowly gathering parts to put a junky, from junk, put a 32 Roadster together. Another one.
There's also on top of a 3-window in pieces, there's a Roadster in pieces up there.
So we're getting there.
We just need to get a 5-window in pieces, and you got three of all.
Well, I need quarters for the Roadster. It's the big and going to be hard thing to find. But I now have doors. We have a cow, which is sitting in Jersey somewhere.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
I got to go get that. Yeah. Sorry, Vince. And doors, and those tulip panel and the panel below the deck lid and a deck lid. So I'm pretty much like, if I got quarters, I could. And we have extra floor sections.
And even if you bought Brookville quarters, then you're only into the whole Roadster for the cost of Brookville quarters.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm trying to be, unless something really pops up, because I have more time to look for the stuff than time to build it. So if I'd like to come across some quarters. What sucks is when we went to get the lift for the DeLorean car, I found one 32 Roadster quarter and ended up selling it to somebody in California, and now I regret it. And that's why you don't sell stuff.
At least 32 stuff.
Hoard it forever. So that car is cool. It's sitting in our new building now, and I've just been gathering parts and putting stuff in it. We have most everything to redo it, so that one's going to be, like I said, very similar to DeLorean car. I'm just going to, one day, we're going to pull the body off, blast the frame, redo the chassis, do the sub rails and floor work that needs to be done.
Which I think we got with all.
Yeah, we got a lot of that with the car, which is great. So that'll be neat.
46 two-door sedan that we almost got my truck stuck in.
Oh my God, that one was. So that was another one that kind of went on for a little while, and a guy contacted us.
No, you found it on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, that was. Yeah, you're right. Again, here's another one. Everybody says it's not fair. Yeah, that was Facebook Marketplace.
That was right before Spring Carlisle.
That's right. A guy put a post up on one of the groups that he was clearing out the parts, and he wanted to get rid of everything in one shot, and there was a bunch of NOS.
Which is a hilarious deal, the way that he did it. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like, it was $2,000 for all the parts or something, or $500 if you took the car and you got all the parts with it. And we were like, wait, what?
Yes. No, it was, I have to look. It was like,
I think it was $1,000 or $2,000 for the parts if you wanted just the parts and didn't take the body.
And then it was like another $400 just to take the body.
Yes, or was he? In the end, we paid $500 for the body and all the parts because he wanted the body and all the heavy stuff gone.
Yeah,
and you were getting the good stuff with it. You know, he was trying to clear the property out to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried that one. We were like trying to go get it, and it just the weather and timing wasn't working, and then finally we're like, all right, we're doing it this day. And then, of course, like days before that, it was
all wet.
It was raining for like days, and we went there, and it was we almost left because we were like so annoyed because
it worked out.
We got the truck stuck, It was incredibly the body was down in the wettest part of the yard.
So terrible. It was partially my fault. I was being stubborn and didn't put down plywood that we had right away.
So we got the truck stuck. Luckily, we got it unstuck, and then we ended up putting the truck far away.
Yeah.
And pulled it out, and everything worked out really well.
Except we forgot. Remember, in the shed above the body, and like the rafters of the shed, was the garnish molding and all the window regulators. And about 30 minutes down the road, after we were loaded up and done, I went, "Did anyone get the garnish molding and window regulators?" And we all went, "Shit."
Yeah, I forgot about that. We were like, "Oh man, we're not."
I got like one piece of garnish molding and one window regulator.
So we ended up just we put the body up for cheap, and just
like $500.
Yeah, we got a couple flakes, and then nobody got it, and we warned everybody like we don't have time or energy.
It was literally when the building was just built.
Yeah, so we cut the car up. Mike and Steve cut the car up,
and Ryan, our helper.
Oh yeah, Ryan got the experience, his first cutting up of a car.
It's the first car I ever cut up by myself.
Oh, nice.
I usually just hold stuff for you while you cut it. It was my first
you got plenty of you learn from watching me a bunch of times.
I know all the right places to slice and dice.
Yeah,
now.
so yeah, we cut that up, and that thing, most of it's gone. I think all we have left is the whole floor section.
Yeah, some of the stuff got scrapped during the move because we just didn't have space.
Yeah,
for it.
we saved it, but with the move, it was like we were running out of time.
The quarter panels take up so much room, and they were for sale forever.
Yeah, so again, we ended up getting scrapped, but we still have the whole floor section because we were kind of like, well, if somebody needs it for any body style, it's good, or if, who knows, we might put together some kind of hot rod that we cobble together, and you can use the floor pans. If they get in our way for too long, they may end up getting scrapped, but we're trying not to. Because the floor is actually pretty decent.
Very nice. It's sitting outside right now, which is a shame. But
I'm fine. Whatever. It's
so then there was a very large gap between that two-door sedan was like May.
And that's right when the building with all that madness was going on.
The 34 sedan delivery is the next one, which was...
Oh, wow. We did have a big jump.
Yeah, well, because we were so busy. You were paying so many people between all those steps in between.
Yeah, that summer flew by.
Yeah.
And the sedan delivery was... And that was like one of those things during the summer. I'm like, I'm not buying any more cars. I need to recover. I think I had pretty much, other than like my last payment to my excavator, everything was paid.
Yeah.
And I had one big payment to do yet to him when they got me the bill, and some little odds and ends stuff. But I was like, I'm done. I can't be buying any more stuff. Done big purchases. I bought that 32 5-window and all that stuff, and we hadn't really sold much of it or the car. So like, big chunk of money was just sitting.
There was a bunch. We'll get to the estates that we did this year.
Oh yeah, right.
There was a few estates in between there, but we didn't buy any cars.
That's right. Yes, I just was like, I don't need to buy any more stuff to keep, so to speak.
So you just have to dangle the right kind of carrot in front of Matt, and he's like, I think we could spend some money.
Yeah. So our viewer Andy hit us up, and kind of like, hey, I'm helping with a friend's, collection, and there's some stuff you might be interested in, blah blah blah, and 34 sedan delivery is the word that was used, along with a 46 and a Model A and whatever. And I'm like, okay, it's probably some piece of shit. We don't need to buy any of this stuff. So sure. Thinking it's like sitting outside. He goes, oh no, this is sitting inside since the 70s. It's dry.
It's black.
I'm like, oh. So he gets me photos, and instantly I'm obsessed and hooked, and start pretty quickly. That all happened pretty quickly.
It did.
It was, I guess, there was one person who was the gentleman that owns all the stuff. It was like his Hershey buddy who had first dibs because they had been for years, hey, like everybody, if you ever sell the thing, give me first shot. Well, both of these guys are now like into their 90s, so I made an offer, and then he was like, oh, I found out we got to give him first shot. And I was like devastated.
Yeah.
And then that guy was, I guess, older. I don't know if he was in his 90s or what, but he was similar age. Let the young guy get a chance at it. So we bought that. Incredible. Really psyched. We instantly put everything on hold project-wise.
Yeah.
And now that thing's, other than juice breaks, that thing's ready to be driving next spring, which I am stoked on. There is a big Model A. It's really good actually. If you're anywhere in driving distance.
The one in Trexlertown?
Yeah, of the Allentown area, It's a really good show that you should check out. It's a 1 day show, but it's our Lehigh Valley Model A club puts on an event that the swap meet keeps getting like bigger and bigger.
Some really neat Model A's come out. You could literally see one of everything.
Yeah, it's just like, to me, it like reminds me of probably what it was like in the old days with early Ford gatherings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like weird stuff comes out of the woodwork. All these guys come together, and it's only Model A's and early Fords. The swap meet is like no knickknacks. It's all people just selling old, original type stuff and parts. And I've been going since the first one, and it's like such a good. I've almost at every single one I've vended.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I took the DeLorean Roadster on one of its maiden voyages with some stuff in the trunk and set up.
The year before that, you almost took the Roadster pickup, but it poured. And that,
oh, that's right.
I don't know if they canceled it, but you're just like...
They had it, but it was like there was like no cars there. There was like 2 vendors because
Yeah.
it just poured rain.
That would have been
right.
a miserable ride in this
I
the Roadster
know.
pickup.
Glad I didn't do that. But that event's really good. So I've had this. This is like the new thing. You're like, oh, I can't wait for that event. I'm gonna vend. So we got the sedan delivery.
Now we can put tables in something.
I can put tables and stuff. Last year was a pain because I threw like a blanket and like a couple bins and it was full.
Yeah.
So that's definitely my favorite purchase of the year.
Yeah.
I would say is the sedan delivery because it's just like
We should maybe take that to Hershey and Carlisle this year.
I want to. Yeah, I would like my original plan. Well, if it all works out, that Columbia that we just got back in some of the videos. Originally, I had set aside for the Mercury. Then we got the sedan delivery, and I sent it away with the sedan delivery in mind. And then we got it back, and it was right when I was finishing chopping the Mercury, and I'm like, really, this should go in the Merc. It's the correct width, blah, blah, blah. So when our friend George dropped off the Columbia for me, that one, we gave him parts to do the next one with kind of the idea that hopefully by spring he can get it done. If it's looking like he doesn't think he can get it done in time, then I might just put juice brakes on this rear. But that was the goal. But yes, anyways, my long-winded way of saying if we can get a Columbia in it, it'll be totally easy to drive it to Carlisle.
Well, I'm just saying, we always...
Hershey's my goal. I said that from the day I bought it. Remember when we went there to get it, I even told them, I'm like, you guys might see this thing next year at Hershey. Yeah. So it was really cool having a car at Hershey this year. Driving the Roadster was probably one of my favorite goals that happened that we hit was driving the DeLorean Roadster to Hershey and then cruising it around all week because there's so many hurdles for that to happen. Weather is the number one thing. Hershey, the weather's always shit.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get a convertible top done for it yet. So if it was going to be like monsoon weather, I wouldn't have been able to take it. So the weather was favorable. The car obviously made it there and back with no problem. My father was riding with me, so which he could have vetoed riding along if he didn't want to. I kind of didn't tell him. He showed up thinking we were going to like trailer it. And I'm like, put all your stuff in the trunk of the Roadster. He's like, wait, we're driving this?
Showed up with his giant e-bike to ride around the swap meet.
Yeah, my dad brought his e-bike to ride to the swap meet. I'm like, what are you doing? We can't fit that in the Roadster. Oh, we're driving the Roadster? Yep.
Hop in, buddy.
So we piled in, and it was a great time. So, yeah, so that's a new thing. Like, at least with the sedan delivery, like, it's covered. So if we do get some weather, you're not totally getting soaked. It's probably not 100% waterproof with the original roof insert, but at least it's better, and if we had to park it under the tent or
I
part of it,
I just want to drive it in Carlisle to go pick up parts that we buy on like the far end of the field. Like, let's hop in the sedan delivery. We'll go pick it up.
Yeah. So that's the whole idea with that thing is that take it to those smaller swap meets. There's a lot of swap meets that I'd like to go to, car show / swap meets. I like hanging on swap meets better than the show. So for me, if I have a vehicle like that, I could drive to the swap meet, set up a few things, and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
It probably make me go to some more events. So I'm really excited about that. So sedan delivery is my favorite purchase of the year.
Your new hot.
I think that's my favorite purchase of the year, I would say.
Yeah. And then the last thing, which just happened a month and a half ago, is the 31 pickup we got from Jamie.
The Model A pickup was another one of these ones that it's hard juggling everything we have going because there's literally 3 of us. Steve gets the best part. He just comes in and whatever we tell him to do.
Yeah.
He has no responsibilities as far as like remembering anything or whatever. So Mike and I have all of that. So this past year with me having the building and trying to play project
GC,
coordinator It was difficult. So my buddy Jamie had contacted. He'd been threatening for years for me to buy his Model A pickup project from him because he stalled on it, and I kept avoiding it because I wanted him to finish it. I helped him find the cab, helped him, pick up the bed at Hershey. A lot of the parts on the car and in the truck were from my own vehicles. We talked about in the video. So I was avoiding it because I don't really want to buy my friends' abandoned projects. I want them to finish them so we can cruise around and enjoy the vehicles. So finally it got to the point where he said, you gotta, buy
Either
it.
buy it or put it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, so I went and visited him like in the spring or early summer, and we hung out. And he kind of was like, even then I was like, I don't know. He was kind of easy to push over into like getting excited again. So, but he was not this time. He's like, well, I think I'm just gonna put it on Facebook then if you're not interested. I'm like, well, what are you gonna put it up for? And he told me, and I was like, dude, I can't. Like, if you're gonna do that, I have to buy. And he's like, well, that's why I said that price.
Yeah.
So agreed to buy it. That was like May, and we didn't pick it up until
End of October.
End of October. So I kept like putting it off, and Jamie's a good friend and very understanding. So we finally went and got it just to get it out of his hair and all the parts. That one, totally no idea. I didn't want it. I hate it because I gave him a lot of the parts part of the problem was a lot of the parts that he had on the truck and even the cab itself, like he got like crazy deals on the stuff. I was at the auction where the cab and the chassis and stuff was, and a lot of the parts came with it, and he got it for like a steal. So it's kind of like the engine in it, I gave it to him for a pretty good deal, on and on and on. So I couldn't let that slide, so we're kind of thinking with that one when we get around to it. We've hinted at, but we'll say it here. We have a 56 Chevy 283 small block that's low mileage engine. So we're thinking about just like super simple, almost like the 34 Skelly car was, like stock small block, 39 trans, banjo rear, juice brakes, super simple, super reliable, just cruise down the road, nice bop around truck. Jamie even said when we told him that idea, is like, well, give me first shot.
Yeah, I'll buy it back.
Buy it back. I'm like, dude, I don't do work for people. He's like, you're not doing work for me. And just saying I want first shot. So who knows? Maybe we're building a truck for Jamie and we don't even know it.
So that's our next year's in 2 years we'll get to that project probably.
It's probably going to be a while with everything that comes up, but
so that's all the vehicles we bought this year.
Okay.
Surprisingly light. I think in 23, I think we bought 12 vehicles.
And we helped out pull a bunch. I was looking at the videos for the year. We helped pull all those ones out at that for that auction.
Yeah.
So we did a bunch of videos on pulling them out, even though we didn't buy them. That 40.
Yep. The 40 Ford, 40 Chevy.
Yep. And whatever else was out of state. So so it even seemed like more because of we did the video on that airplane hangar farm full of all those cars that we couldn't buy that were frustrating, but I'm glad I didn't buy them.
So cars we sold. So it was just at the cusp of the year was the 39 convertible sedan.
Oh yeah, so we bought that previous year.
Yeah, previous year, and it sold right around this time. Gentleman from Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. He came in like the middle of the winter.
Yeah, he was out here for work. Just happened to be out here. It was right around the Allentown swap meet.
It was literally like a year to the week almost.
Yeah, exactly. I literally forgot he was here for the Allentown swap meet until just a second.
Yeah, because he was out here for work.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, if you're in the area, there's a swap meet.
Yeah.
He went to the swap meet. So a viewer, was he a viewer or was he just or did he find it on Facebook?
He found it on Facebook Marketplace, actually. He was in one of the 3940 groups.
Oh, right. So he wasn't even a viewer yet.
He hasn't watched our stuff before.
And now he's like, a good customer.
Came out for Carlisle and Hershey. We need to get him a frequent flyer punch card because he kept coming to our booth and buying stuff after walking around. He's really, really, really nice dude. He's in the process of
gathering planning.
parts. He's not sure what he wants to do. He's toying with the part of restoring it or just leaving it the way it is and just driving it and enjoying it.
But he was looking for one though.
He was looking for a 4-door convertible from 32 to 40. Or 39. He was toying with any of them.
Okay.
And he was just looking for something in his price range and
found this one. And yeah, I remember he came out and we started it for him. It was very cold. And,
yes.
But yeah, that was cool. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that car's out there getting loved on.
Or at least is in a loving home,
Yes.
getting some attention.
The 39 Coupe was the next one, which we only sold because of the building, really.
Yeah, so the 39 Coupe was, and I apologize to anybody that kind of got pissed. We had like two guys that got kind of pissed at me for that whole deal because we had a handful of people that asked to buy it. I had two guys that were asked a bunch of times and probably were pretty serious, and I said no because when they were asking me, we didn't know this whole stuff was going to happen with the building, and it's hard to keep track of everybody. So,
To be fair, the guy that we sold it to was also bugging us.
yeah, he was another one. Yeah, so but he just hit it. It's one of these deals, just like Beautiful. People asked about Beautiful.
Or the Roadster pickup.
Yeah,
which is sold. Please stop sending us messages.
Oh my God, yeah.
The Roadster pickup is gone. We sold it.
It's been gone. Yeah, so the gentleman viewer just hit us up at the right time. We were actually, the building was already going up, or was about to go up, I don't remember, but it was more the concrete that I was thinking about, because the concrete, I got the quote for that. And he hit me up, and I was like, I don't want to sell it because I just started driving it, but I it is what it is. So he hit us up. We talked a bunch, explained the car. He seemed like a good, much like Beautiful. Like I had the conversation about what the car is, what to expect out of it. Wanted to make sure it wasn't somebody who was going to cut it in half and turn it into a rat rod or
street rod it.
Yeah, whatever. So he was super psyched on it. He loved what we did with it. He just wanted to take it, cruise-ins and ice cream runs and, just enjoy it pretty much as is, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked money back and forth, and I probably was a hard person to buy from because I didn't really want to buy it, and I was kind of being very blunt with it all.
Yeah.
So they came and bought it. They spent the day here. I took them out in the country and some of our beautiful back roads and drove them around for half an hour in the car, and
came to the warehouse and saw the warehouse before the big move.
Yeah. Him and his buddy bought some parts. So that worked out awesome. I was really sad to see that one go, but I think it went to a good home.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he was looking for a 39 or a 40 original paint survivor type car. This one was it. We did all the hard work for him.
Yep.
So at that point, all he had to do was just his little odds and ends he wants to do to make it his own. But that was, I don't know if I'm ever going to find a better 39 coupe. I mean,
that was a tough one. Yeah.
That was it. And I kept saying I wanted a 39 coupe.
The only thing that would be
coupe.
better would be find one than black.
Yeah, and I guess that was my consultation for selling it. I was like, well, the color wasn't I liked the color, but it wasn't my favorite. And a black or blue, dark blue, or there have been a couple colors, but black would be the definite one.
Yeah.
So
don't say never. We'll find another one.
Yeah, it could happen, but that one was so clean. It was really cool. But sad to see that one go.
Yeah. And then the last car we sold was the Model T race car.
Oh yeah, and the Model T race car I'm really glad that
I'll put some photos. There's a shop in England that is.
Yeah, so we sold it to a guy from the UK. He hit us up. We were actually actively selling that car.
Yeah.
We didn't have a ton of interest in it.
He actually, funny enough, heard about it on our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it on our podcast, and then he sent us an email and said, I heard about it on the podcast. What's the information? Which is funny enough because it was for sale for a good while. Yeah, because it ended up at the warehouse.
Yeah, we had it for months. It was for sale, and you heard it. That's right, you heard it in the podcast. So we, this gentleman that was interested in it, Pendine Sands, is a big beach race there where they actually go pretty fast, 100 miles an hour. There's a 100-mile-an-hour club there, and a lot of cool hot rodding going on there. And he wanted to build a car to compete in that and also drive it on the street some. And same thing, I had a long conversation with him about what the car was. I try and be as honest as possible. So this one I really had to be careful because it was an old 40s dirt racer. It was crude, and even though I did a bunch of stuff to it to get it kind of going in the right direction, it still needed so much, especially with the body and all that stuff. So explained to him what the deal was. He bought it. And then he took it to, and I'm pissed I don't remember the shop's name because I do follow them. shop in England that does.
It'll be right here at the
Yeah,
bottom.
they do really, really good work. Before he sent it to them, I was already following them. They're building, doing very good nice sheet metal work, and building hot rods and stuff. And so all of a sudden, it like started popping up on their page. I'm like, no way. And
Has a killer exhaust system up the side of
Yeah,
the body. It's great.
so it's really cool if you look at the car, and as I've been watching them build it, they're almost doing what I wanted to do with the car. So like they're keeping a lot of the original stuff, and if they didn't keep it, they made a part that looked just like it that just fits a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So like the headers and the exhaust, they kind of built something that's. I think they might even use pieces of the original exhaust or something. The original nose is on it, but I saw that they were kind of fixing it around where it didn't fit well. I think they built a new hood for it, but I saw they used those weird little hood scoop thingies and
Nice
stuff. So like, but the work is like is top notch.
Yeah.
So that thing's gonna be awesome. They were able to make the car trans work because we had sold it to them with a car trans like I wanted to do. And then they ended up putting, I think, an F1 steering. I don't know if they put F1 or they left the cow steering in it.
I think they changed some stuff up because I believe he was going to turn it into a 2-seater. He was
That's
going to
right.
modify it to put 2 people in the car.
So I think they put an F1 steering box in it.
Kind of like you did the free T to make cow steering.
Yeah, I don't remember how they did it exactly, but
We should try and go out to Pendine to see that car run.
that would be cool.
How cool would that be?
Yeah, so anyways, really cool. Glad that car got sold. A lot of people, complain sometimes in comments. They're like, "Oh man, I can't believe you sold that," or "I was, you never finished any." A lot of people are like, we get that where people say this like blanket stare, like, "You never finish anything." I got that kind. I fired back at people a bunch of times. Like, we finish actually. I put a lot of cars. We put a lot of cars on the road.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just have to, some of them we lose interest or whatever, and we can't keep them all. And we sell some cars off. So with the new building going up, it was kind of, again, freeing up some money that we could put into the building. That car probably paid for like the pallet racking we had to buy and
to be
lumber.
brutally honest, that car, you probably wouldn't have driven it that much at races just because we have so much going on. It's hard to make all those events.
I wasn't like, I was stoked on the car, but I wasn't drawn to working on it.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like one of those things where I had a lot of other cars I was more excited about. And also like during that time, the Arden was, I knew the Arden, there was a light at the end of the window for the Arden.
On top of paying for the building, you also had to pay for an Arden build.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the big estates that we bought. Every pickup truck load that we buy, I assign a number to keep track for our like business tracking. We only did 8 major purchases this year, like big box truck loads. The year before we did 12. So not too bad compared.
Yeah, that's considering how much other stuff was going on.
Now, some of the ones that we did in 2023 were pretty good. There were some big ones.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the year from Hershey to December, there was like 5 that we did that were real big.
Yeah.
So we behaved ourselves this
But
year.
we started off the year.
You started off the year really good because
With
January 1st, you went to the West Estate.
January 1st, I bought from a local estate of a 32 collector that has been passed away for a number of years. His son I'm in contact with, and he hit me up New Year's Eve and said, "Hey, I'm cleaning out some trailers on the property." They had a big auction, and he said, "I found a bunch of stuff that people left behind at the auction." I was at the auction, bought a bunch of good stuff. And you want to check it out. So I went and looked at the stuff New Year's Eve, and then he said, "Oh, come into the shop. I got a couple extra things I want to show you." And there was a Judson supercharger kit. I don't know how many sets of heads, 3 or 5, 3 or
2 or 3. There
2 or 3, yeah. And a bunch of other stuff, intakes, some other stuff. And I basically made him an offer on all the stuff. He said, make me an offer on the stuff. I'm not going to use it. He wasn't going to build flathead powered stuff. Anyway, so he texted me back like January 1st and said, "Come on over." So that was a good start to the year.
Yeah.
So I got that, which is sitting.
Yeah, the Judson's on the shelf over there.
Yeah, I sold the rest of the stuff and
You kept a pair of heads, I think. There was those Navarro like boat racing heads.
Oh yeah, those weird
Water
marine
outlets,
heads.
yeah.
So Yeah, we did that, and then
Right after that, month and a half later was the Minnesota stuff.
yeah, and that one was one that I was working on that for a while. I actually had given up on that estate because I was working on that estate for
A year, almost.
almost a year. Yeah, it was at least 6 or 8 months, and that one the daughter had contacted us and said my father's looking to sell a large flathead speed equipment collection, blah blah blah, and it was really confusing. I think it's just one of those deals where the family was pushing dad to sell because they were selling the house and simplifying their lives. And I was getting not, in the start of it all, it was like I wasn't getting a good feeling on it all. It was just, it wasn't.
There was a large lack of information of what we
Yeah.
were getting, what weren't we getting, what's all included, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
And then eventually they did get me a ton of photos, which thank you on that to Simba. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
Simba.
Simba. So she got. I can't imagine how much time it took, but she
Yeah.
took photos of like every set of heads, every intake, top and bottom.
In a photo box, like white light, white
Yeah.
background, bright light, like photographed very well.
Yeah, so it was great, which helped, but also complicated things because the dollar amount that was being asked was sounded reasonable. It was a large amount. Sounded reasonable till I saw the photos, and this is why you have to do your due diligence. A lot of the like higher end stuff was damaged.
Yeah.
So that's where it went quiet because I think they pushed me. I didn't want to make an offer because my offer was like half. And then they put it on.
Hemmings.
They put it on Hemmings. They put an ad up on Hemmings with that large dollar amount and like one picture.
One picture of one pair of heads.
Or one intake or
Not like
something.
a picture of everything, just one pair of heads or an
But
intake.
they put in the listing what it was, and I just let it slide. I figured, somebody's going to probably jump on it or whatever. And then they came back to me and said, hey, you're still interested? And then I finally made an offer, and we worked our way to a number that was comfortable with. And in the end, it worked out really good because the lack of information, we get there, and there's way more than we're being.
No, you get everything. Everything but
small
amount of Oldsmobile
That's
stuff.
right. I was on the phone with the gentleman who owned the stuff, Bill, and we kind of agreed on a price, but I thought it was just really the speed equipment and what was on the lists that I got. And then he said,
how big of a truck
he
are
said,
you bringing?
well, how you getting this stuff home? And I said, well, we usually fly in, we rent a box truck, and we drive it home. He said, well, or he goes, no, I think he said first, well, how you getting this home? And I said, well, we have trailers. You're not fitting all this in the truck. I said, well, a lot of times we fly in something like this, and we'll get a box truck and drive home. You're not fitting this all in a box truck.
Which stressed me the F out. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, how are we going to get all of this in a truck?
So I said, well, we have a 26-foot box truck. And he goes, I'll never forget it on the phone before we went. He goes, you might get the good stuff in with that. And I was like, I don't know. So we went with our gut. We got there, and it was a lot. We were pretty stressed. Like, we didn't know if we were going to fit it all.
Funny enough, I packed the front of the truck so good. We flew in, and it ended up, we only worked a couple hours of the night.
We got to tell
before.
the story about. We never told this, but I got to tell this story because it's probably one of the scariest moments of my life. So a lot of these deals are cash. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we flew in. We took an Uber. We got a sketchy
Oh,
ass
also,
Uber.
we flew to California.
Oh yeah. We
We were Grand National.
Oh yeah, he goes, it has to happen like next week, and I'm like, we're supposed to be at Grand National. We really need to make it happen next week. So I'm like, I guess we'll change our flights.
Yeah.
So we flew in, and everybody was like, oh, you're going to Lucky's party, and we're like, oh, we gotta do this thing. We can't go, being all like vague. And so we flew from.
I totally forgot about this.
So we flew from Vegas. We flew from PA to LA with all this money. Did the Grand National Roadster Show for like a day and a half.
Yep. No, not even. We were there Friday. Then we flew Saturday morning to Minnesota. We were only at the show for like 6 hours.
Yeah, so we went to the show one day. We went to some shop parties the night before and whatever. And then we flew out. And we got to Minnesota. Luckily, it was the warmest winter they've had in a long time.
Yep. No snow, surprisingly.
So we flew in to Minneapolis. We got an Uber. which is what we do a lot of times because it's just simple. We get the Uber right to the U-Haul or Penske place. We rent the truck. We do the deal.
Totally forgot about this. Oh my god.
So some of the Ubers are better than other. This one was like a Honda Civic or something.
It was like an old. Usually, you're in a brand new car. That's nice. This was like a 2007 Hyundai Elantra.
Yeah, something like that.
It was
so
rough.
So I don't know why, and I still don't understand why I did this. Normally, I do not let my bag out of my possession. When I fly and we have money and whatever, I do not. I mean, that's generally what you would do. You don't let it out of your possession. So I don't know why. I put it in the trunk of the guy's car. My bag.
All of my very expensive camera equipment is also in the back of the car.
He put that in the back of the car. So it's about a 40-minute drive or 35-minute drive, whatever.
We're on multiple highways.
Yeah, so we're on highways. It's Minneapolis. It's Minnesota. The roads are terrible. And we get off the highway, and I think the guy made like a weird wrong turn or something, and we're sitting at the stoplight. When we were driving on the highway, we kept hearing a squeaking.
Funk.
Yeah, like
funk.
a squeaking or a banging, and we thought it was like a crappy shock. Because a lot of times these Uber cars are like, the cars are not maintained very well. And we didn't think anything of it. We get off the highway, and the guy makes kind of like a wrong turn to get over into the parking lot. And I look behind us, and excuse my language, the fucking trunk is hanging open. The trunk of the dude's car is like half open. And I said to the guy, "Oh, your trunk's open." He said something like, "Oh, yeah, sometimes it doesn't latch right or something." We're like, what? I have a very large amount of cash in my book bag, in the trunk. Mike has all his camera equipment. We just bounced down the road.
For 45 minutes.
45 minutes. And we have this dilemma. I can't tell said driver I have a shit ton of money in a bag in
We're
the trunk.
sitting at a traffic light because he fucked up the turn, and we're just sitting there
I'm
waiting.
like, I've never, like, if you have anxiety and your blood pressure rises, I could literally feel it going up and, like, my head's about to explode. And I'm like, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my fucking God. And we get out of the car. The trunk's open.
All of our shit's still there.
Still there. But my bag was right at the end. We easily could have bounced out. And it was just like, I
totally forgot about that. Oh, my God.
I can't, like, we were just like, what is going on?
So the first night, we get to fly in because of the time change. We don't get to Minnesota till like after lunchtime. So by the time we get the truck, we meet them. We only work a couple hours.
Oh yeah, because they had like a birthday party or something they were doing. So that we met them, and it was like almost dark by the time we got there.
I packed. Usually, one of us is in charge of packing the truck. I took it this time, and I packed the front of the truck so tight because he kept saying, "You're not going to fit it all. You're not going to fit it all." We drove to the hotel with our friend Mike, who lives out there now, and I had packed
Mike that painted the free tee.
Yes,
actually.
So I had loaded the front of the truck so much that the front end was porpoising. We were driving down the highway, and the truck was like banging forward because I put so much weight in the front.
Like, oh, this is going to be fun for 20 hours.
Yeah, luckily we filled the back enough that it balanced out, but he stressed us out so much. I had the front of that truck packed with stuff.
But because of, we got all the good stuff right away out of the basement, and it was like,
all the good heavy stuff.
Yeah, well, all the speed equipment and the really good stuff we got out of the house, but then we only got, part way, and we're like, holy crap, tomorrow we got a big job ahead of us because the garage was so packed. But yeah, so that was wild. It worked out well. Then we went to Chicago.
Yep.
And we did that one. I always have like some of the smaller states. When people contact us, a lot of times I'll just tell them like, hey, if you need to sell it right away, go ahead, no hard feelings. But if you're not in a hurry, next time we get out your way. So this was one of those instances. I went in my book. Oh, this guy in Chicago I'd been talking to a while earlier, and he said, oh, yeah, I'll make sure I can be available. So we went there, and that one was actually surprisingly good because we kind of knew what was there. And then we got there, and it was a bunch of advertising.
Yeah, it was a lot of extra stuff we didn't know about.
It was like, and we thought we were only going to, like, get a little bit of stuff, and we ended up, like, packing the back of the truck.
The truck was that's probably the most. And the Model A stuff was probably the most, but it was pretty full.
It was really packed, and we were like, holy crap, are we going to fit all this in? But we were like, because we were buying like Ford distributor machine, and there was pedal cars, and there's signs, gas pump. Like, it was just like more and more and more. And the guy was, obviously wanted to clear this stuff out of there. I don't think they were selling the property. Just the stuff was just sitting around.
No, I think they were going to sell the property.
Oh, was
because
it?
their dad was in a had passed away and the property was empty, or the
Okay.
kid was going to move in, something
Yeah, I
like
couldn't
that.
remember, but that was really cool. That one we was like a surprise that
Yeah.
we got all that stuff. And it was such a whirlwind of PA to LA to Minnesota, drive to Chicago. We did all this like really very short.
Oh, and then our
window.
U-Haul had fucked up headlights that wouldn't shut off.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the first night. Yeah, I think after we got all the stuff in the first hotel that night outside of Chicago.
No, yeah, it didn't happen till the first night. It was fine. Then after we left Minnesota, we only made it to like Wisconsin, and Matt and I are standing in the hotel getting ready to check in. I was like, man, the lights haven't gone off yet. And then the lights in the truck went off. We're like, oh, okay. We go upstairs to our room and the lights are back on in the truck. We're like, what the fuck? Go out there and the lights are on off. We're trying to figure out what it is, and
And it's cold. It's Wisconsin in the
zero
winter.
tools.
Yeah.
We had to climb in the truck and find a 40 Ford wrench, and we just unhooked the battery to the main terminal box.
I found the junction box where all the power wire
Yeah.
leads go, and I'm like, well, one of these like 6 power wires has to do something. Luckily, the first one I picked, you took it off. So every time we stopped any like length of time, we were disconnecting the
Had
battery.
to find the special 40 Ford wrench. We pulled up to the estate in Chicago, and I opened the hood of the truck and took the wrench out, disconnected the
They're
battery.
like, okay, but that was just how it goes. And then we
just
did
another-
it that all the way till we got
Yep.
home, and it was good. Everything went well.
Yep.
We unloaded it all. It was fantastic.
I have pallets of 40 Ford parts I haven't even touched.
We sold. At this point, we've sold all the speed equipment.
I have two pairs of heads that are like the really effed up ones.
Messed up ones,
we have to
yeah.
decide what to do with. But all the intakes and all the heads are either sold or in your collection.
And I kept, believe it or not, I only kept a small percentage of stuff.
It was
from
a third, roughly.
Yeah, because I got maybe 8 or 10 sets of heads. I kept 8 sets of heads and maybe 8 or same kind of intakes. And some of the intakes were actually doubles. I had them already, some of the high rises, but like they're ones that I know I would put on cars when we put cars together. Like this 32.5 window, probably put a cool high rise on it so I can keep one on the shelf for myself to look at. And we have one to use, so they'll get used. But I didn't hoard. A lot of people in the video were like,
He's gonna keep all of it.
Keep all of it, yes. So.
So we talked about the Buffalo parts already, the
Yep.
32 parts. The next one, again, giant gap, because the Buffalo stuff was like March. Not until, when did we go to New Hampshire? Was that July-ish, I think?
Something like that. And I don't remember how I found out about that one.
One of our viewers at the Northeast Vintage
Oh.
Drags.
That's right. So we went to, so that was another good thing I wanted to hit for the year that I saw previous years. So again, it was difficult I kind of like did last minute reservation stuff. It's over Memorial Day. And I wanted to go, but then we were doing all the building stuff. And then last minute I said to Kate, do you want to just go? Let's just book it. So I talked to Ronnie Roadster and Laura San Giovanni, and they were like, "Oh, we're staying at this place." And I looked it up, and it was the Poland Springs Resort, which is a really neat place. And we got reservations there, so I said to Kate, "Let's just do it." So we went up, took the DeLorean Roadster. It was literally like total last minute thing, and didn't race. I was just like, "I'll throw some parts in the trailer and go up." So we were up there, had a great time. Hopefully, gonna go this year if our life goes as planned. Got to meet a bunch of people from New England that, have never met before. Saw some people we only see, once a year or whatever. And one of the guys we were talking to, a guy and his wife, there was a fan of the channel we're BSing with. He had 32 two-door sedan. He mentions, he's like, "Oh, you guys, I always want to do a pick like you guys. I'm going on my first pick this weekend." So he says, on my way home, I'm stopping at this place, and it's, it supposedly had all this Model A stuff. So, okay, cool. Good luck, whatever,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Then I'm driving home from Maine, and Kate I think you texted me,
Yes.
and Kate looks at my phone for me while I'm driving because I got the truck and trailer, and she's like, "Mike said there's some guy you got to call, like, ASAP." So we look at, Kate starts reading it to me, and I'm like, "It's the guy."
Yeah.
Holy crap. So we call him, put him on speakerphone when we're driving. He starts telling me about this place, and I'm like, "Whoa." He's like, "Dude, this is way more than I can handle. This is wild. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff."
It was almost too much that we couldn't handle. That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. And so then, long story short, I got in touch with the gal, the wife of her
Grandson.
her husband was, it was her father-in-law stuff, basically.
Oh, grandfather-in-law. That wasn't his dad that passed
Oh,
away. It was his grandfather.
grandfather-in-law. You're right. Yes. So, long story short, they moved into this property. They inherited what we found through the again, a lot of this stuff, we don't really know how this is all working out. So I didn't know if it was her relative, her husband's, who was in charge of what. And we get there, and basically we find out that it was her husband's family farm.
Yep.
It had been in the family for a very, very long time, or family house. And his grandfather lived there, and basically she was a caregiver for her job, hospice and just in-home caregiver, and I guess he moved in with them till the end of his life, and she took care of him.
For a number of years.
For a while, and as anybody that's ever dealt with any of that, very, very difficult. I think she was, dealing with the stuff that happens through, when someone's not able to take care of themselves. So basically, as payment, because she gets paid pretty well to do that, they inherited the parts, the property, and then they moved into the property, and it's like a 1800s farmhouse, so it needed a lot of repair. So they're basically selling off the stuff to try and clean the property up and also help pay for repairs on the property. So we went there with they didn't know how they wanted to sell anything, and I couldn't get an answer out of them, but I had a good feeling we should go, because the gal was very friendly on the phone, and I kind of explained that we're a business, we need to buy in bulk, blah, blah, blah. They had a bunch of people there. I found out later she had ads up on Facebook Marketplace, but this is one of these instances, being the first one in the door is sometimes not the best scenario. So a bunch of people had been in and been through there, and a lot of people knew about it. But number one, their grandfather was very, very, very hard to deal with.
Yes.
Everything we heard before, during the estate, as we're there talking to family, and then afterwards in the video comments, people we met at Hershey that knew him or dealt with him, super hard to deal with guy, did not negotiate prices. Prices were through the roof, and if you didn't like it, you can get the F out.
Yep.
So a lot of people didn't even go there because they were kind of like... And then they were selling stuff, and as expected, they were trying to get as much as they could for the parts. Well, they were kind of dealing with it on a case-by-case scenario, so they have 10,000 items there, and every dealing was so painful because a guy would show up, spend all day digging through the place, they'd get to the end where he'd have a few parts on the ground, they'd negotiate, sometimes the person wouldn't even buy the stuff, they'd buy one thing, they'd buy nothing.
And before, when we got there, they had moved to the property. Some of the people that they had dealt with before, they lived like an hour-ish away.
Yeah.
So they were taking the day off of work, driving an hour plus there, dealing with the people, and then having not great interactions with them.
Yeah, so we were like the 20th people in there, but luckily they were kind of over dealing with the stuff in that manner, and they were ready to start selling in bulk. So it was kind of a really weird situation. I walked around, we looked at everything. I was actually dealing with her husband now because...
Technically, it was all his.
And she passed me off to him. But then in the end, when I made an offer, he said he had to go talk to her because really the money was owed to her because she took care of him. And I'm just like, who am I dealing with? What do I, So in the end, we worked out a deal, and literally, like, I didn't exaggerate in the video. I explained it to them the same way. I made a dollar amount offer. I said, we get 1 day, and at this point, it wasn't even a whole day.
Yeah.
We're going to load the truck. You guys don't need to watch, or, obviously, like, if there's stuff we couldn't take or whatever, let us know. But, like, if everything's fair game, we're going to just pull stuff outside, whatever we can get in a day. At the end of the day, I'm going to hand you that dollar amount, whether we have 5 things in the truck or 500 things. So it worked out good for them because it was pretty hot that day. They sat in the house and hung out.
They did bring us a cooler full of water, which...
Yeah, they were very nice. It wasn't that they were
great.
like, F you and went in the house. We told them, like, we brought help. Just,
we'll hand you money at the end of the day. That's...
So literally at like dinner time at 5 or 6 p.m., it was starting to get a little dark.
Yeah. Good thing they came out because it rained like a motherfucker.
Yeah, it was
right
crazy.
after we left.
Yeah, so and then we have to thank Pete and crap, I forget his friend's name.
I don't remember. I'm
I
bad with names.
apologize if you're listening to the podcast. I'm sorry. But Pete, a Volkswagen acquaintance or friend, that lived up in that area. He got another younger Volkswagen guy to help. I paid them, for the day. Basically paid them 2 days' wages for 1 day's work.
Yeah, because we told them it might be 2 days,
but they kicked ass.
We would never got that much stuff in the truck. I basically tasked them with loading I'll bring the parts out. I'll tell you roughly how to pack them, just because we've packed these trucks a ton. I'll bring you the stuff. If you have any questions, ask. Other than that, just keep shoving it in the truck.
Yeah,
and so they did really good job.
They did really good, but this was where I felt like that estate is where we really, you and I, have gotten to a point where we got really efficient at this stuff, because you're now so knowledgeable with this stuff also.
Yeah.
That like for years now it's been like I kind of have to look over your shoulder or double check stuff, and like now you know more than I do with a lot of stuff. So it was like we just went in our separate ways. I was just digging stuff out, you were digging stuff out, and we didn't really have to go sweep back through, because we knew that like we basically got it all. I think at the very end I did a quick sweep and found a couple little odds and ends, but there was just so much. And they were literally like dinner time tapping their feet like, all right, locking the buildings up behind us, and we're like still supermarket dash. I'm like grabbing stuff as Mike's talking to him and doing the last few things. I'm grabbing things.
And the amount of stuff that we took out of there is still probably at least
as much as we took or more.
Yeah, we'd probably fill 1.5 more box trucks with stuff.
And that would be the stuff that's usable. There still would be stuff left over that wasn't. But so we got a lot. And then the guy from Maine A's. Mitch, which I actually saw him at the drags as well. He, I guess, had heard about the estate, but same thing. I think it had been like, he thought they were hard to deal with or something. So he ended up going then, and he bought in semi-bulk. I think he bought a car trailer and bought a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he bought a bunch.
And it worked out great, because we ran out of time and didn't get the Model A headlight buckets.
Yeah, all the glass was in the one garage, and we just grabbed all the glass, not thinking. And then at the very end of the day, we got to the headlight rings and the buckets, and
we got a lot of headlight rings, but not a ton. No, we just took all the V8 headlight rings.
We were just running out of steam.
Yeah, so I took all the early V8 headlights and headlight rings, and we ran out of time. So we left behind all the buckets, and we're like, we're going to probably, eventually we'll come back, blah, blah, blah. Well, he went back, and then he hit us up. He's like, hey, did you guys get headlight glass for Model A's when you were there? Because there was like 100 sets of headlights and no glass. And we're like, actually, do I got a deal for you?
Yeah, he hit me up and was like, how many pairs of glass do you have? I think he needed like 98 pairs.
Holy shit.
I think I sold him 60 pairs. We didn't have all of it. And I sold him all of our other Model A lenses, glass lenses we had. I was like, I'll sell you all of them.
So we're sold out.
Yes. He picked them up at Hershey, but it was
so if you need Model A headlights, hit him up.
He has a lifetime supply.
Yeah, so he also sells on eBay and does similar thing to we do, and that's a good example of we have no problem helping out other guys that buy and sell. We can't buy it all, we can't sell it all. We weren't mad that he got in. I mean, it wasn't a problem.
And he knows we're knowledgeable on Model A's, but there's a lot of stuff on Model A's, AR or late 31, early 28, late 31, that's very specific parts that are worth a bunch of money to restoration guys that we have absolutely no idea about, because it's just we're not knowledgeable in that kind of stuff.
And we got like a crap ton of, again, running out of time and energy. We took all the complete Model A carburetors. He got all the drawers of parts ones.
Dude.
So he also did really well, because he had all these ones you could put together, rebuild. They bring good money. So we were happy about that. So we sold him at like a wholesale cost all those lenses, because somebody's got to be able to sell the stuff. Yeah. And I'd rather sell him the lenses. He could sell them. We got enough to sell. So we still have a lot of Model A stuff. They still have a lot there. So if you live up in that area, you can definitely go there and visit. I don't know if we're going to be able to go back there. Towards the end of the summer, she did hit me up, because I think I had hinted at we might be able to come, but we were just so busy with other estates. We didn't get up there. But I don't know if I'd go back just because it was so far away, and knowing what's left, I don't know if it would be
Worth it, yeah.
Yeah, there was stuff that I'd like to go back for that we missed, but it's like I don't know if the drive and the times, so hopefully some other guys can get in there and buy that stuff, because that's the goal, is get it all out there.
The next one, it wasn't a ton of parts, but it was really good stuff, is the 32 parts in Doylestown.
Yeah, so this is another one that has been going on for years. I don't remember. It might have been 2018.
Yeah, it was before.
Way before COVID.
Yeah.
One of our viewers hit us up that they're in their newsletter for their Street Rod Club. A guy had put a classifieds ad selling 32 parts, and I went to visit the guy. Very affluent area.
Very well off.
Yes, area. I did not look like I belonged. Still didn't look like I belonged when we went back. I went there and looked at the stuff and only ended up buying a nice 32 firewall and maybe something else, but maybe just a firewall.
It was just a firewall, I'm pretty sure.
And the guy was nice, but the prices were stiff, and he had like a stack of freaking 32 grills, all kinds of good stuff. And there was a 32 three-window cow I kind of wanted to buy that he had upstairs. This was before I had a three-window. And I've been meaning to call the guy back for years and never did. And when I ran into him, he randomly decided to vend at the Morgantown Auto Mall, which is like it's an old shopping mall that somebody bought and turned into a classic car consignment thing. Mm-hmm. And they also do events there. So they did a swap meet there, like a winter or spring. I can't remember what it is. Might have been winter. And I went there, and he was vending inside, and he had all kinds of his 32 stuff. So Mario. And I reconnected with him and asked him about the 32 cow. Yeah, I still got it. I got my number. Give me a call. And then again, life got in the way, blah, blah, blah. He sends us an email and says, you know what? I'd like to get rid of the rest of my 32 stuff. Here's an inventory of what it is. Here's the price. He's very cut and dry.
He's a successful businessman. So
I'm not even saying this in a negative way. It was actually refreshing. He's
like,
here's what it is. I priced out all the stuff. I left room in it for you. There's no haggling, BSing. This is the price. Take it or leave it, or I'm gonna, sell it, advertise it. Mm-hmm. So, ran the numbers. It was a little bit of tight margins for what I would have done if he wasn't local. I wouldn't have done.
No.
So we went there, got the stuff, and it ended up working out well. We knew it was really quality stuff, so we knew that like literally in a week or two we'd have most of it sold.
Yeah.
Do we have all of it sold now?
No, the only
three-window cow we still have.
Yeah, three-window cow, and I have one grill shell.
Okay.
It's the one that's cut off on the backside.
Okay. Yeah, so we bought all that stuff. It ended up working out quite nicely. I didn't keep hardly anything. Again, people think I keep all the 32 shells. If I kept all the 32 grills that I've found, it would be insane.
At least 100.
I think I could go head-to-head with whoever has the most in the country because we've had a lot. And I only keep kind of the good ones now, and if they're original paint.
Did you keep one from there or no?
I think I might have swapped some parts around. I think I kept the shell, and I pulled one off the wall and took the insert out of the one I had, put in the shell. I can't remember what shell it was, but it was a pretty nice shell.
I think that's it. It was a very small.
I kept the three-window. There was like these little pieces of tin that hold the carpet down in a three-window. Right. Very hard to find.
Like the sills, I think they call them.
Yeah,
right?
I kept those, but I didn't keep really much else. We sold pretty much everything else, and that was good. Yeah, so that one, everything pretty much went. We have a three-window cow. We had a beautiful three-window dash we got there.
Yep, that sold right after Hershey.
And that was a funny one when we listed that for sale. Facebook groups are the most hilarious thing. You post in a 32 Ford Facebook group a part that is coveted for 32s. It's three-window only. And there's...
And the glove box.
And glove box. And there's knuckleheads in there. They're like, what? You're crazy. That's too much money. Rah, 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 rah. And a lot of them are like the guys that have fiberglass three windows or don't have a 32 or bought their 32 in 1957 when you could buy the stuff cheap.
And we're like, $100,
We're like, this is literally what they're selling. Like one sold for a similar amount not that long ago. And we sold it for, we negotiated a little bit, but we sold it for, similar dollar amount. But that was just hilarious.
Yeah. So the next one is sedan delivery parts. We already talked about that. We got
Well, yeah, I mean, the sedan delivery, we got a lot of parts in that
yeah.
estate. And got some 32 stuff in that, which was surprising.
Wide variety. 32, some 34 parts, some 40 or 46.8 because he had a 46.8 convertible in that 2-door, and we also got some Thunderbird parts, which was
That was the surprise of the
Yes.
estate. It was 60...
63, 64, 65.
Yes, T-Bird parts, and we left some behind, actually. But we took most of the stuff, and that's where we've been trying to get better. Again, for talking for a year wrap-up, I think that is, between you and I, has been our biggest takeaway from the year. Is
Everything sells.
everything sells. We used to always pass on stuff, or when we get tired out of states, we would, stuff like this. That's T-Bird stuff. That's not really our thing. Did anybody really buy that stuff? Those cars aren't really that hot. We took the stuff, and I was literally, when I was taking the photos of it to list it on
He was
eBay,
grumbling the entire
I was grumbling.
time.
I'm like, this is stupid. I hate
Fuck
this
this.
stuff.
I hate it.
And then I was putting the stuff up, and Mike's like, I sold all 3 of those T-Bird parts. He put up this like 2 days later. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we have a very small bin left, which is surprising.
So that was the takeaway for the year. That estate especially proved it, that like we cannot leave behind stuff. If we think it's sellable and we have the room, we need to take it, and we'll sort it out when we get home. Even if we end up just selling it or sending it to auction or whatever, it needs to be researched before we just go and abandon it.
Yeah, and then the next one is a smaller. It was only 2 pickup truck loads, but it was a good one. It was the 39 parts you bought in Malvern, right before her, like the day before Carlisle.
Oh yeah. That one.
I don't remember how you got that one.
Oh, we got an email. So a guy that's
oh, that's right, an appraiser.
Appraiser, but it turns out his father was friends with this gal's husband. She had asked him for help because she trusted him, and he had reached out to us because he knew of us and said, the only people I know that would buy, this stuff is these guys. So I talked to her. Such a nice lady, like one of the nicest. We meet some really nice people with these estates. Such a nice, again, business lady. She ran her own horse business,
equestrian business. Yeah.
Yes, super. Like, she let you know when I first walked to the house and knocked on the door that she wasn't some old lady you were gonna take. And I'm like, I get it. I mean, the reason he passed you on to us is we have a good reputation. So once we got that out of the way, she was like the nicest lady.
Cut and dry. Yeah.
So nice. And I went there by myself.
I think it was the Thursday before we loaded up to go to
Carlisle.
Carlisle. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were like pricing stuff.
I was packing bins.
Steve was working on something for a video, and I was like, I'm just gonna go by myself. I don't want to bail on this lady. I need to just go get it done. And I got most of the stuff out of there, but I had to leave some stuff behind. Again, same deal. It was pouring rain. I don't know why this stuff always happens when it's pouring rain.
Yep.
My truck almost got stuck leaving her place, but luckily I got out. And then we technically did. I guess I agreed to buy it. I don't think we took anything, but the local estate, Pete's buddy.
Oh yeah, that's on the list.
Oh, you didn't get to that.
We didn't get to that.
Okay. I thought you said that was the last one.
No.
Yeah, so we did that. That was.
And we haven't sold like hardly anything. It's on 3 pallets or 2 pallets on the mezzanine.
And
I haven't touched like any of it.
And that one was really surprising because he had a 39 convertible sedan that I was drooling over. Original paint, one family since new, black, original top.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's freaking awesome. And I like her son inherited it, but it was still there because her son lives in, I think, New York City. And her son has a professional type job. And she was kind of like, he probably isn't going to ever drive it. He's not a car guy like my husband was. But, if he ever does sell it, I'll let you know. So she kept my information. I love the car. I didn't think I would want a convertible sedan, but that one was the one.
It's beautiful.
It's really cool. So, yeah, so that was that.
Yeah, and then obviously the last estate of the year.
Well, didn't you do that? You a little bit of 37 stuff.
There was a couple of those I didn't put in. They were just like small pickup truck
these
loads.
Little like pickup truck loads, quick runs down the road.
So the last big one is Pete's friend Bob. We bought the remaining contents of the property.
Yeah, so our good.
Well, the 2 buildings.
Yeah, so our good friend Pete, he had his best friend that he traveled around with. It's like Mike and I. It was like they went to all the swap meets.
Yeah.
They dug around together. They were, every waking moment they were chasing old cars and parts.
You used to go to junkyards together.
Yeah,
and
they were the best of friends. Unfortunately, his friend I only met a few times at swap meets when I was first getting into it. And over 10 years ago, I think, or 10 years ago, he passed away. I didn't really get to know him. And I wasn't good friends with Pete then. I was just kind of like, I just didn't get to know him. But anyways, his legend is far and vast in the early Ford world. He was one of them. In our area, he was like the most knowledgeable guy, hands down, as far as working on them, parts numbers, finding the stuff, collection of stuff. And his family has been selling the stuff for 10 years, basically.
Yeah.
Selling at swap meets, on and
Auctions.
on and on. Auctions. They've sold an incredible amount of stuff, cars, parts, and they're getting towards the end of it all, and they're also getting a little, run down from doing it. So we had been talking for years now of them selling the stuff. So finally, through my schedule and them having, family stuff going on and health and all that stuff, we got in touch. We finally were able to get together.
Yeah.
And I ran down during the summer with the Roadster and just looked around.
It was you and Evan, right?
No, I went by myself during the summer and just looked around.
That's right.
With Patty. And then, again, I got so busy. They were like, they were waiting. I took a bunch of photos and they were waiting for me to make an offer. And we literally were just so busy. I didn't even get to look at the photos. And it was like Carlisle and Hershey. And I talked to him at Carlisle and was like, look, I just been so crazy. After this, I'll get with you. So Evan and I ran down, looked at the stuff again. We made a deal on everything. On basically, there was this, for me, the little, the little carrot that was dangling out there was the big, there's a big semi-trailer that people have been in there buying for years, and they know that I'd been in there and bought individual items for my own projects. And there was this trailer that they opened for me once or twice and maybe somebody else once. And it was full, a 40-foot trailer of just like
stuff,
mostly heavy mechanical stuff, steering boxes, transmissions, that kind of stuff, brake parts, spindles, whatever. And then there's some body panels in the back. I really wanted to buy it just for the fun of going through that. And they were pretty much at the point where they had sold 90% of the easy to sell stuff. The swap meet pile was getting picked through, so they weren't selling as much. So I made a deal. We made a deal on it. The great thing is they're not selling the property, so they kind of let us come and go as we please to get the stuff. Just give them a heads up, but we go there. So that's, you guys saw a couple of videos of that. So we're going to do a lot more of that. Unfortunately, it was right before winter, so we took a little bit of small pickup truck loads the day we paid for everything, and then we went back one time because we had a warm day
with the trailer
and made a small dent. But not a very big one.
More like a dimple. Not quite a dent.
So it's super fun because he was just buying so much before the internet in bulk.
And just going to junkyards. So
to junkyards.
He'd go to the junkyard. He was really big into shoe boxes.
Yeah.
So he just pull all the good stuff that he knew would sell off the shoebox. And there's just, you open a bin and there's like 50 of the same part, and they're all labeled the same because he knew the good parts to pull off the car, and there's just bins and bins of stuff.
And like auctions used to be, that's another thing that I wish, if I could go back in time, when I was younger and could go to auctions, I wasn't. I wish I was, because him and Pete and a lot of the older guys in our area, early V8 guy, hot rod guys and early Ford guys, the auctions used to be insane.
Oh yeah.
So he would go and just kill it. I mean, he would just, buying like crazy. And there's all these boxes of stuff that's like, I think it was like he got all the stuff and he just put it in a box. And the family sorted through a lot of it, but there's a handful of pallets they haven't sorted. And you have no rhyme or reason. But he had a great eye, and he knew what he was buying. So every time we open a box already, it's just like, and we're not talking like $5,000 part, $1,000 part. It's just neat stuff that you pull out and you're just like, oh, that's an accessory XYZ. And he knew why he was saving it. And almost every single thing has a reason. Having kept a lot, my favorite thing I've gotten there is I got like 3 gallons of black lacquer paint that's never been used, which thinned out is 6 gallons. So that paint is going to be used at the very least for the Mercury to paint the roof and above the belt line and all that stuff. So that was really cool.
There's much more to come from that estate.
Yeah, that estate will be good. And we're kind of using it like our satellite warehouse.
Yeah, our overflow inventory.
Yeah, so we're going there with a list. So if anybody saw something in the video that they wanted or were asking us, we're going to try and get back again. If we have another day where it's like a little warmer, we'll go back and pull some stuff. But we're not making special trips there to pull that one hubcap you saw in the corner or whatever. So that one's exciting, and that one's cool because it's like we're not driving cross country.
Yeah.
It's literally 45 minutes or an hour.
It's between both of our houses, basically.
Yeah. So we just meet at the Dunkin' Donuts right down the street, and we go over there. Our buddy Kevin was, and of course our friend Pete, who was his best friend. Those guys. The great thing is Pete was with him when he got a lot of this stuff. So as we're pulling parts out, Pete's like, I forget what it was, but there was something where I was like, oh.
It was a convertible. I think it was a chunk of a body panel from a shoebox.
And Pete didn't even see it, and he goes, is it blue? Is it like a dark blue? And we're like, yeah. He's like, let me tell you about the time we went and grabbed that car. And he knows the car because of the paint and what it was.
Yep.
So that's my favorite thing with this stuff is Pete is reminiscing with us and reliving some of the stuff that if Bob was here, he would be telling the same stories. So at least Pete can tell us those stories. So I'm it means a lot to me to be able to buy that stuff because Pete is like a second father to me. So being able to hear those stories from him and then we're seeing the parts is so cool because some of the stuff we're finding, Pete told me the stories as we're driving. He and I have driven to swap meets and traveled together. He's told me the stories and now we're finding the stuff in the estate that he told us about. So it's super cool.
So that's basically it for the cars and estates and stuff. But I pulled some milestones that we accomplished this year. So we got to 1,000 videos uploaded to YouTube.
Cool.
So it's a lot of content we've put out.
Yeah.
It's over well over 1,000 now. We cracked 150,000 subscribers, which we're trying to get that number up.
We slowed down big time. I was looking at the analytics myself, and the year we put out the 39. Forgotten Hot Rod time
2 years
video.
ago, right?
Yeah. We had twice as many subscribers we gained that year than this year. So that video helped big time, which is understandable.
Yeah.
And we didn't do as many adventure videos this year, so that those drive a lot of our new subscribers and stuff.
That's a bit about it from YouTube. Podcast did really well.
Yeah.
We were downloaded. I was looking at the podcast app that we use to host our podcast. Shows what cities had the most downloads. Melbourne, Australia is our most downloaded city.
Nice.
For whatever random reason. It's not in the U.S. It's in Australia. So
Melbourne.
Shout out to you guys.
Yeah, that's cool. That is interesting. We do have a lot of Australian.
Yeah.
Even on YouTube, you see there's a pretty good segment of viewers are from Australia, which is hot rodding's big there. And
it is.
I saw it with my own eyes.
Exactly.
It's super cool.
With the parts business, I shipped 3,500 packages this year. That's between parts and merch.
Wow.
So 3,500 packages I've touched.
One person. I didn't really help him at all.
There was a little bit this winter. Ted worked for us. So there's a little bit. But I've touched the majority of those boxes.
99% of that.
Yeah.
This person right here shipped.
And then we sold roughly 3,300 car parts this year. That's at car swap meets and online. So
okay. That's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. We moved a lot of weight this year.
It feels like a lot more, but
yeah,
it's a lot. That's
a crazy amount.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy and we put a building up.
Yeah.
I mean that's the biggest bookmark, little pat on the back, is we successfully, while still running a business, going to get parts, shooting videos, we somehow were able to put this building up.
Yeah, we didn't miss an upload this year.
Didn't miss an upload. And while we didn't physically put the building up ourselves or pour the concrete, we built all the pallet racking, we put the mezzanine together, the office.
We moved all the shit.
Moved all the stuff. We couldn't have done it without my father's help, my nephew Evan's help. Ryan, who was our part-time high school helper.
He basically packed.
Yeah, he was key.
This summer, he did a lot of the shit work.
Yeah.
I just made him. He packed everything up at the warehouse for us to move. So without him, I think we would have done a lot worse this year for sales because I would have spent a lot more time
Packing
prepping
stuff.
to
Yeah.
move.
So we basically did all the moving in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Most of the moving in 2 days, essentially. We rented a box truck with a lift gate, and we had a plan, and Ryan had packed a lot of it on pallets, and it all got moved, and we got out of the warehouse. I'm done making rent payments there, which is pretty nice, so it frees up some nice little chunk of money every month,
Yeah.
which is great. And we got our own forklift, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
crazy.
I forgot about that.
Super cool. It's janky, just like everything else I own.
It leaks oil like everything else you own.
Like everything else we own. So might break down every other time, might not start. But yeah, that was the biggest thing, and the only thing we missed for my goals was getting our new service. We're getting put to get the shop to have its own service and not like connected with the house. So when we get that done, we're literally just waiting on some like the med ed. We got the permits.
Yeah.
We got it all put in. Shout out to our customer Rick, who helped us out with getting that done. Who's a lineman.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were super close with that. So
Yeah.
we'll next year. It's really relieving knowing coming into this year. Sorry, coming in. It's only the second here. So coming into this year, this spring, knowing that we don't have like last spring, it was like this just weight on my shoulders. We got to do this. We got to get this ready. We got to, I got to pay for this. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, we don't really have any major stuff we got to like deal with as far as the new building goes. It's just like little odds and ends stuff. All the parts are here. It's been like the little bit from basically Hershey on that we've all been on the same property. Everything's combined. So much nicer.
Yeah, way easier.
I'm able to help Mike more. I was thinking about hiring another person for a while there, and now that everything's here, it's kind of like I can help Mike take photos, list stuff. If he needs a hand with something, he's able to walk parts over to get Steve. If a customer's like, hey, I need a 39 trans, and Mike's got the parts there, he can literally walk them all over to Steve. Steve can put a trans together, and within a day, we can have it shipped
In the
out.
past, Steve would just call me and be like, this is also broken. Can you bring one? Then I bring it, and he gets further along. He's like, I need to this. It'd take like a week to put a trans together. So now it's just...
Now he's doing like 3 a day.
Steve just comes waddling over like, hey, I also need this. You put all the parts away. Just fucking take what you need. It's back there.
And Steve went and organized all the trans parts on a shelf, so he knows where everything is now, so he can start just wandering over and getting the stuff. So we're trying to get more efficient, get more organized. It's going to help. It's going to help our customers. It's going to help us. It helps with the videos when we're shooting videos. If we need something, I can just walk next door now, or Steve can walk next door.
I don't forget it at the warehouse. Is the big thing.
Yeah. I forgot that we sold it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like everything's where it's supposed to be, and so that's huge. But it's been big step this year. Crazy. That new building was on my 3 to 5 year plan.
Not 3 to 5 months.
yes, because we only put this upstairs up 2 years ago.
Yeah, 22. Yeah.
And after we built this building, it was in my 3 to 5 year plan to do that. Well, we did it in 2 years, which is great, but was stressing mentally and financially.
It was also stressing me because he's like, now that we don't have any money, but our money's very low. It's
there
like,
was a point where
gotta sell more parts.
Yeah. Well, there was a point where I gave Mike the credit card I used for the business stuff, and I said, this is all of your money. When this card maxes out,
you're done.
Stop spending. Because he was going to Glicks and buying stuff, and it wasn't like he was excessively buying it. It's just like he'd come back like, yep, $2,000, another $2,000, another.
You gotta sell. You can't just spend money. You gotta sell parts too.
I'm like, this is it. If we can't, if we run out of money, we're gonna have to do without for a little bit because we're spending it quicker than it's coming in.
Yes.
But it, like everything, it's you do without for a little while, but we're able to. The great thing is, as far as like making videos and content, we have so many projects here and parts in house that like we didn't have to like. It wasn't like we were so short on money that like I couldn't buy coolant to like put in a car to drive it. It was more like we just couldn't be making multiple $1,000 purchases every other day anymore. So, so it's been good for 2025. I guess we'll wrap it up with some goals and stuff I was thinking about the past couple days myself. I I definitely, and I actually started doing this the end of this year, um, around Hershey or so, or no, I'd say Ron probably inspired me a little bit with his focus thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to focus more as much as I can, but getting the Arden back was one of those things where I'm like, I need to start focusing more and not doing the like side tangent for like a year on stuff that like I have a bad problem where if we get a new project car in, and I did it with the sedan delivery, but that's like a keeper car, and I wanted to get it moving before winter, so that was my
Yeah.
big thing with that. I wanted to get it so we could put upstairs, but I have a bad problem. The 32.5 window, I almost did it again, almost slipped back into it with Jamie's Model A. It's like
Yeah.
we get it in, we push it in the garage to get it out of the trailer, and then I go, well, let's just quick do this and do this. We got the small block, and the next thing you know, I'm not working on the 16 other cars that I want to keep.
The Sweetheart Roadster.
Yeah, Sweetheart Roadster's a bad one, which I am going to get back on. But it's kind of like I need to focus on the stuff that like cars that I'm keeping or projects that are already started or stuff that I wanted to do. So, other than the sand delivery, so you saw I made a little push on the 33.3 window. We did the firewall. We did some of the stuff that waiting for the engine to get back was why I was waiting on the firewall. Now that that's done and I did the rockers, it's kind of like, I don't want to say on the home stretch, but like I've already done so much heavy metal work that a lot of it's like finesse work. I got to send the rear out, but like I'm going to focus on that car for sure this year. I have a slightly unrealistic goal of being able to drive that car this year, whether it's around the block or it's just for real driving on the road. I need to get the rear pulled out of it and sent away. I think I have just about everything I need done to pull that rear. So I need to pull the rear out. I'm sending the rear to get the 9-inch axle conversion done and all set up. Hot Rod Works is going to take care of that for us. I already talked to them on the phone. So I need to send that out. And then I just need to do a little bit of metal work around the car and start, just we got to pull it all apart, get the chassis painted and everything like that. But like, I want to get that car definitely focused on that. The Mercury, I'm already starting on my New Year's resolution. So the Mercury, I've been threatening for years to chop that and start customizing it. We had a good break in the work that I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And a lot of people were giving me crap that I kept talking about chopping it, but I hadn't done it yet. I was trying to get to a point where I could focus
And have room in the shop.
Notice that key word. If Ron and Laura are listening, I'm taking it to heart. Focus. So I wanted to be able to focus on the Mercury without disruption, at least for doing the chop. And I basically spent a month uninterrupted working on that almost every day. Got the roof all welded back in. I was literally today, first day back for the new year, I was welding in the repair pieces for the gutter area that were all rotted out from the mice. So I want to get the Mercury this winter. It's kind of turned into I'm just customizing the Mercury. So this spring, I want to be able to bring that out, and it's got all this new stuff done to it. So in the spring, I'm hoping to spray all the pieces and be driving it in the spring, which will be really, really cool because it'll be fun to take that out. And
Definitely.
The nice thing with that car, and I've been talking about in the videos a lot, and I think people get away from it a little too much anymore, is it's okay to work on a car in steps. So that car we got mechanically good, and I drove it for 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years actually, yeah.
And enjoyed it. And even though the roof, it wasn't customized how I liked, I drove that car a lot. And that was like my old faithful. Get in that, drive that thing all the time. So it's cool because that car mechanically, I don't have to worry about anything. I know the engine runs good. It doesn't overheat. Trans is good in it. The clutch is good. All that stuff's good. So now we can just put the 2-speed rear in, do the modifications, and then the thing will be good, even better on the highway, and it'll be looking a lot cooler, and I can just drive it. And then I'm going to continue to modify it. Someday I do want to totally repaint it, but for now we're just going to do these modifications, blend some black paint in, and drive it. So those two cars for sure as far as projects. The 38 convertible, I'm probably just going to drive next summer, and I might do a little bit of tuning up on some metalwork stuff, get the hood to fit better, the trunk straightened out a little more. But I'm just going to drive that in its kind of ugly state for now and just enjoy it. The Caddy engine runs really good. The end of the last year, I drove that a bunch, and once we got a new radiator in it, it was running cool
good.
and running really good, and we got most of the bugs worked out of it. So at this point, my only bummer on that car is we had a rear that we thought was a 354 rear, and it was stamped for being a 354, where at some point somebody must have changed the ring and pinion in it, and it's like 378s. So it doesn't have the highway gears that I was hoping, so it's not as great for that. But it is a caddy, so you can run a little higher RPMs in it than a flathead. It doesn't matter as much. It runs nice and cool, so that is not a problem. But been enjoying that car. Just going to drive that.
Yeah.
So that one we're not going to do a lot on this year.
Sweetheart Roadster.
Sweetheart Roadster, I'm gonna do some metal work this winter with it. I'm having a huge personal, emotional, whatever you want to call it, problem where I want to redo a lot of stuff on that car because my skill level has gotten a lot better since I've started on the car, and now I look at like the doors I made and I'm not super happy with them. But to cut the doors off and remake new ones is going to be a huge step backwards. So I'm going to try and live with them. They're going to have more filler in them than I want. They're not fitting as good as I want, but they will be fine. I had the same problem with the T when I was putting it together. I was frustrated with some of my skill level stuff. And once we started doing body work and everything, and now the car's great. The doors shut nice. Everything's great on it, but it's one of those things. But I'm going to get on that. I think I'm just going to like say good enough, and is what it is type deal, and go from there. But that car, the engine's built on it. I need to do a little bit of
literally sitting right outside
right
the
there.
window right here.
I need to do some steering stuff on that I've been putting off to get the steering to work with those wishbones. I think I'm going to change the drop axle that's on it, so that's a little step backwards. But I'm definitely going to get back on that. I just want to get the Mercury and probably the Arden car a little further along. Before I jump into that, because I want to be able to focus on that car. Because I think if I focus on that car for like a month or two, I think it'll be to the point where it's ready for body filler and that kind of stuff, and not doing more fabrication type work. So I need to get back on that. I think
that'll get you to the fall of this coming year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is I've kind of decided the ruined Roadster, I'm probably gonna sell it. We're gonna get it running. It is running. We're gonna do the juice brake conversion. That's actually Steve's next project after Pete's car. He's doing the 12-volt conversion as we speak. So when that's done on Pete's car is basically good, and our friend Jerry's gonna do the convertible top on it. So we're just going to probably give it back to Pete or store it until Jerry can start it. But Pete's car is pretty much good. Yeah. So Steve's going to work on doing the juice brakes on that. And then that car's kind of like good for what I wanted to do to it. But the more I've been thinking about it, it's kind of excessive. I don't, A, the money that's tied up into it, and B, the DeLorean Roadster is like the
one.
It's the one for me. I can't see myself. The cars are pretty similar, so I don't see myself driving the car much. I think it's going to be another one of those things where I'm never going to drive it. One of the two cars is not going to get driven.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get the juice brake stuff done on that. This spring, I'm going to drive that car a bunch to get it reliable, work all the bugs out of it, and I think we're going to send it down the road. We have one person that has been bugging me to buy it, and I have their email saved, so we're going to give them first crack at it, and if they don't have interest, we're probably going to sell it. Just one of those things. I got it out of my system. It's fun to build it. It was very much as you may not believe it, it was an impulse buy.
Yep.
Mike didn't even know I was going to buy it.
I
literally decided on that moment.
As we were standing there, yeah.
So that car, I think I'm going to get rid of that car. If we're talking about stuff for next year, I want to thin down some stuff I was doing it last year, selling some cars that I can't see myself doing anything with. I think I've decided, I don't know if I told you this or not, but I think I've decided I'm going to make the free T we're going to lean into the nostalgia drag.
Yeah, you told me.
So Steve and I were discussing it after you left on New Year's Eve. I think we're going to put the wild engine back in it. The big problem with that car is the radiator's kind of too small, and you can't, this, but you can't really, people ask why I don't drive it ever, or we don't take it to many shows. it gets uncomfortably hot, the coolant temperatures, anytime you get in traffic. So at the very end of, well, not the year before, we didn't really drive it last year. Steve and I got it to the point where I think it was pretty good, but if I would still be scared if I got caught in like heavy traffic anywhere, of having an issue. Steve and I, we discussed it. I built a full-on show car or race car without realizing it, is what happened. And it probably could be worked around to make it better, but I think it's going to change what the car is. So I think we're going to put the other engine back in, change a couple little things, and then that'll be the car that if I want to take it to the Northeast Vintage Drags or any of that stuff, we could take it. If we break it, no big deal. You trailer it home and we put another rear in it or another trans. But like, I think that's going to get more use out of it. It'll be kick-ass to just beat the shit out of it.
Yeah.
That engine that was in it is pretty quick, so it'll be pretty fun. I've said it in a lot of the podcasts. I'm not interested in being a serious race car guy, but I do enjoy something like that. Mm-hmm. So taking it to an event like that would be pretty fun for a little like eighth mile drags. And I think that'll probably satisfy me more for that car. Definitely. Then we can uncork those pipes.
Oh yeah.
We have the baffles in it, so
that'd be great.
Obnoxious. It's going to be awesome. So we have a also extremely unrealistic goal. Steve and I were talking about, like, could we get it together for the Northeast Drags this year?
No,
because we could swap the engine in a day or two. We already had that engine running good. Like it's a good engine. It was just we were having issues with it running hot. But if you're at a drag thing, you start it up, you idle it in line, and then you run, and then that's it. It's good for that. It's just that sitting there idling it for 20 minutes
in traffic,
it would be a problem. But so that would be kind of cool to take it, trailer it up there, and make a weekend of it.
When's that? I guess the Allentown one is until like.
I don't know if I want to drive it on the cinders yet.
It's true.
It has pretty nice paint. Yeah. I don't know if I'm quite ready yet to wreck the paint. So, but there's a lot of other events that those guys do that would be neat to take it to, some of those, and as time permits. But I think that would be really cool, and I'll get a lot more use out of it. So I think that's the direction. Understanding that not every car can be everything, and that car can't be without changing the identity of the car. I almost put a Cadillac in it this year.
Yes, that almost happened. It was very close.
Very close. I even bought an adapter and had it all planned out. So we're gonna not do that. So as far as the cars go, that's pretty much it. I have plans for the Lincoln. That's why we haven't sold that. But I don't know if we're gonna get to it this year or not. Maybe it's a next winter thing. I don't know yet.
Like the Mercury, we need a lot of room for that in the shop.
Need a lot of room for it. So that is a plan. But I did buy a Caddy engine for that. I bought a couple of odds and end parts for it. I got an adapter to hook up to it. So I do have some pretty neat plans for that car. So it'll be pretty cool. Oh, the 38, the only thing I want to do to it is build a Carson top for it. So if I can get the framework built and get that done this year, I'll be really, really happy on it. Hopefully get a top put on the DeLorean Roadster. That's just waiting its turn at the upholstery shop. How about you?
Work on my car, definitely. Nate's going to be here tomorrow. Him and I are going to, first thing in the morning, depending on how cold it is, pull the windshield out and make a pattern for it.
We can bring the windshield down to the shop.
Well, we're going to pull the windshield out up here. So just get my car on the road and driving is the big thing.
That it needs to be actually driving this year and take it to some events.
Yes, that's my goal for the year.
That's the goal. We got to take it to Ted's Picnic this year.
Yes, that's
at
my
the very
goal.
minimum. So
and Wheels of Time. I live very close to McCungy, so the cruise-in, they do one once a month. So I'd love to.
And Wheels of Time for the show.
Yeah, drive it every day.
Actually drive it there every day would be really, really cool. And I think
business stuff is just sell parts. Keep beating what we sell every year. That's my goal, is just to sell more than we did last year. And from last year, I think in 23 we sold 1,900 parts. So we almost doubled what we did the year before.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we're headed in the right direction.
I would have felt like I made a lot of money if it wasn't for putting a building up. I felt more poor.
Yep.
It's funny how that works.
So we've been rambling for almost 2 hours.
Awesome. Well, that's what's going on. That's our plans.
If you'd like us to go to an event in 2025 or something you'd like to see us do on the channel, leave a comment down below, because we love your input and feedback, and it helps dictate what we do.
So I think, not to make it real long, just a couple quick hitters. I'd like to try and, whether it's this year or the following year, integrate, try and do some driving to events that's further from home. Our schedule is the biggest thing that
Yeah.
dictates that right now. It's not that I don't want to drive the cars. We usually have such a tight schedule with everything with the business and filming and everything that's going on that if anything doesn't go right and we get stranded or a car has a problem or whatever and we get a day behind, it's like a catastrophe. So I'd like to try and do that. Maybe if we do an event like Relics Riot's one we've talked about that would be
Yeah.
really neat. Driving across PA and Ohio and go to Michigan and do Relics Riot or another show would be really neat. We just need to set the time aside that we don't need to leave and be home the next day.
Yeah.
That we have a little bit of a window. So I'd like to start doing some of that. Someday I'd love to do like
LA.
Lone Star Roundup. LA's
Yeah.
like, that's the ultimate to do cross country, but try and do something even further like that would be really cool. And again, once we get more of our cars on the road, we can all drive. It'd
Yeah,
be really
exactly.
fun. And I would like to. What was the other one? Oh, the other thing that I thought of, this isn't video related, but we're starting to try and come up with ideas for other items we can sell. We do the merch thing, obviously, but like we're working on, like, we get some rare parts and tools and different things that we come through our hands that we sell that we're starting to think about, well, maybe if we made a copy of it or reproduced it, if nobody else is doing it, it might be worthwhile to do small batches.
Yeah.
So currently, right now, we're working on copying some fairly hard to find K.R. Wilson items. Now that we have a relationship, our buddy Jeff has a relationship with a foundry locally, that we can kind of know what stuff's going to cost, how long it's going to take. We're going to start maybe doing some of that. The supercharger thing we hinted at a little bit, but I think the cost is too high to manufacture it to really be worth selling because we'd make such a small amount. I don't think it's really worth it. But there's some stuff that, like little tools, or maybe there's some speed equipment stuff that's very obscure or simple stuff that we could make copies of and have made and offer them in small batches. We're not looking to do like some insane setup, but I thought it would be neat if we, this K.R. Wilson tools we're looking at, if we make 50 of them, much like we do our calendars and pre-sales, and we sell them and it's done and that's it. And if you want to copy it and do it yourself, great. But like, there's some stuff like that. So that's one of my business-sided goals. Would be neat for this year to offer some more products for people.
Definitely.
So that's a couple last things we'll leave you with. If you have any ideas for stuff, for products, videos, anything you'd like to see out of IronTrap for 2025 and beyond.
And if you're listening, there's no comments, obviously. Just send us an email.
Send us, irontrapgarage@gmail.com. Yep. And hit us up.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We appreciate all the support. 2024 was great.
Awesome.
It's forward momentum as always. So we appreciate it.
We're very thankful that everybody follows along and supports us, and we're able to do what we love to do with our friends.
Yep.
So thanks, guys. Catch you later.